now, and that one shouldn't panic if you see a sequence of numbers that are lower than you're used to, because again,
when the White House comes out and says we shouldn't panic if numbers aren't what we're used to seeing days before the data comes out, most of you have been around long enough to know that's exactly when we should start to worry. So that was Kevin Hassett. He's basically saying that we'll get into the full interview. I want you guys to see the whole thing, but he was essentially saying that the numbers are going to be different because of AI, because of the deportations, because of all these things. And don't panic when these numbers are worse than we're expecting. Okay. So that tells you right off the jump that we need to worry. But we're going to get into everything. We have news from XRP. We have news in the stock market. We're going to cover everything so we know exactly what to expect today with the Clarity Act discussions taking place at the White House, with jobs data tomorrow, with inflation data on Friday, as well as XRP Community Day launching tomorrow. We're hearing rumors swirling around about Ondo and Ripple. It's not just me now. I've heard it from a couple other places as well. So we're going to hop into everything. If you guys are new to the stream, please engage in the chat. Sorry, don't leave a like. You haven't been here long enough to like me. That's okay. But engage in the chat. Chat is the lifeblood of the stream. As soon as we get through all of the information, we will cover what's taking place in the chat because I love talking to everyone. But first and foremost, let's see what we're dealing with as far as price. Looking at XRP, we're currently at $1.42. Again, everything is currently following Bitcoin. I am still expecting a pullback. I added to my puts this morning. As you can see, they're not doing well for me right now. They're still on the decline, but I did add to my puts this morning. I bought some at 70K and I bought some more at 69 2-ish, right around here. But again, that's just me. Nothing is ever financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. You need to do your own research. First and foremost, you can lose everything, as most people know in the crypto market right now, because everything is red. Unless you hold Canton coin, everything is red this month, or Hyperliquid, excuse me. So unless you hold those two, everything is red. But I mean, I hold XRP, Canton, Chainlink, HBAR, and Ondo, as well as a few other dart throws. I've been doing some research into Hyperliquid since they partnered with XRP, but since we're talking about Ripple, well, they didn't partner with XRP, excuse me. Hyperliquid partnered with Ripple Prime. Let me make sure I get my words correct. But we do have some more partnerships with Ripple I want to get into. So, Soil. Who is Soil and why do we care? Everyone's soiling their pants looking at the stock market, but that's not what we're here for. Soil introduces a single asset vault on the XRPL to streamline institutional lending. Don't worry, this adds to this, okay? So, an institutional asset manager and technology platform operating in the intersection of traditional finance and blockchain announced that its fintech platform Soil has introduced a single asset vault on the XRP ledger. This streamlines, how institutions aggregate capital and manage on-chain lending activity, positioning Soil as an early institutional adopter of the forthcoming XLS 66 amendment. Institutional fundraising and loan management are often fragmented across banks, custodians, and internal systems, resulting in a manual reconciliation, delayed risk assessment, and operational bottlenecks. SAV is designed to address these obstacles by aggregating capital into a unified on-chain structure, thus creating a single source of truth for deployed assets and loan performance. Remember, this protocol was literally just passed like a week ago, and we're already seeing institutions building on it. And again, when we were following, when we were following what Ripple announced in regards to how XRP is going to be utilized at the center of everything, that included lending and credit. And we are already seeing lending and credit coming online and being partnered with within the XRP ledger. It's already happening. That's what we're looking at right here. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing. We don't need to necessarily know the whole thing, but the link is right here. You guys can check it out for yourself. However, another partner with Ripple was announced. Figment partners with Ripple to custody. Again, back to this thing right here. We talked about custody. That's on there as well. Collateral, liquidity, custody, lending, credit, payments, and FX. It all counts, okay? So when we're looking at Figment, what does Figment do? Ripple has selected Figment to support and scale its staking strategy. Under the partnership, Ripple leverages Figment's institutional-grade staking solutions, enabling regulated institutions to access enterprise-grade staking for leading proof-of-stake networks like Ethereum and Solana. Unlocking staking for regulated institutions. This partnership is designed for regulated institutions such as banks seeking to participate in staking while meeting the highest operational and compliance standards. With Ripple Custody providing the secure connectivity to access Figment's battle-tested staking infrastructure, institutional clients can now offer staking to their end customers without building in-house infrastructure, integrate staking into custody workflows, meet strict compliance requirements backed by Ripple's and Figment's regulatory focus, and expand product offerings, which operationalizes custody in a secure way. So again, custody partnering with Ripple. This is building out extremely fast, considering these upgrades were just announced a week ago. Remember, privacy and clarity are highly, highly important when we're talking about banks and institutions that are coming online for Ripple. Now, when we're talking about clarity and the Clarity Act, okay, remember there is a stablecoin and the Skinny Fed master account meeting today, and there will also be tomorrow a discussion at 3 o'clock. Tomorrow is going to be a busy, busy day for me. We got the XRP community event, and we got some more discussions or some more interviews or whatever going on with the White House as far as the Clarity Act is concerned. So today, it's just the banking side of it, and they got heads from different banks and heads from different crypto companies. No CEOs. It's just like the leads, if you will. So none of the CEOs are there. Everyone's picking on Brian Armstrong about holding it up, but that's what they're discussing today. And we've already got, so you guys know how this works. We've already got the ag committee side of it done. That's one side of the Senate committees. We have to get the banking side done. That's who's meeting today, but there's no vote or anything. They're trying to come to an agreement. Now, once they finally figure their stuff out, whenever that is, then they put the two together and they have a proposal that goes to the Senate. And then the whole Senate has to vote on it. Once that's done, it has to go. Now, I understand that it already went through the House once, but then it has to go back to the House and they have to finalize what the Senate did to it. And then it goes to the president. Okay? So we still have a ways to go on this. People are starting to say spring and stuff on X. We're starting to hear. I had a tweet actually. It wasn't that I found. Let me find the bookmark here. Pretty sure I still have it. There he is. Let's look at this. This is what Scott Bissett had to say about it not too long ago on Sunday morning. Hang on. It messed up on me, and then my phone also rang. Silly spam calls. Oh my goodness, man. How many spam calls do you get a day? Let me know in chat. I swear to God, I get 15 a day. It is ridiculous. Telling me I'm pre-qualified for this, I'm pre-qualified for that.
On this crypto legislation that seems to be hung up in the Senate, Secretary, do you expect that the Clarity Act will, in fact, come back for a markup? And why are we having a debate about bank margins? Where do you stand on this? Do you think crypto platforms should be able to pay rewards, pay customers for moving stablecoin or yes, money out of traditional bank deposit accounts and keep them on crypto platforms? Where are you on that issue?
Again, Maria, I think what we're seeing in the crypto market over the past few months means more than ever that the U.S., we need market structure, we need clarity, and we need to get this across the line this spring. We got a few recalcitrant actors who said, well, it'd be better to have no legislation than the legislation we don't want. And I think both on the banks, the other crypto firms are united against them. So we need to get this across the line. The U.S., under President Trump's leadership, the U.S. is becoming the crypto capital of the world with our best practices, best regulation, and for crypto to remain a viable digital asset and move forward, we need to get this Clarity Act done.
So you think it will be? It'll come back fairly soon then?
I'm optimistic, and there's bipartisan support here.
So he says he's optimistic and there's bipartisan support. I like how he had that whole conversation and didn't answer the question. But nonetheless, what can we do? That's what Scott Beston's saying. I still think we're lucky if it gets done by midterms, and if it gets done sooner, again, I would love to be wrong. But I'm just trying to be realistic in what I'm seeing happening. Now, Open Eden is partnering with Doppler Finance to expand access to institutional grade RWA yield on the XRP ledger. The partnership will explore the integrating T-bill, tokenized U.S. Treasuries, and AA plus S&P Global and USDO, a yield-bearing stablecoin, prudently regulated. So again, more staking options, more integration for the XRP ledger. It is building out faster and faster. Now, interesting, because we follow the actual data on the XRP ledger every day in stream. Like, for those of you, you can let them know in the chat, guys. People who are here every single day, all we do is follow. That's the one thing I never miss is touch on ledger activity. Look what's spiking now. I mean, we follow the account set activity, and it's been up at this 40K level for the last 3 to 4 months. But when you look at the entire history of the ledger down here on this bottom row, that's more than the history of the ledger by far, but now it's spiking even higher. It's going to 48, 49,000, almost 50,000. So they're ramping up even faster now, and we've already started to see an increase in payments. We got up as high as almost 2.2 million. And then the next day of another 2 million. So now we're at, we had 1.7, 1.7, and 1.5. We haven't been below 1.5 million on payments volume, actual payments volume on ledger since the 29th. It's definitely been ramping up, something that I am following because I'm looking for that to go past 3 million, 4 million, etc., and actually translate into price appreciation for the actual asset. There was more information here. I just covered Doppler Finance. CC said, so the CEO of Digital Asset, Yuval, says that crypto sell-off is finally repricing empty shell token models. Institutions are moving towards chains with real value, privacy, and predictable cost built into its interoperability. Again, everyone knows I love my Canton coin pretty much just as much as I love my XRP. $350 billion settles on chain through the DTCC. This is again talking about Canton coin, lots of Canton coin information. This was the soil thing that I showed you guys about. Reese Merrick also talking about recent strategic shifts, talking about Securasys. This was another one. Securasys, the integration brings CyberVault HSM and Cloud HSM directly into Ripple custody, allowing institutions to get high security key management on-prem or in the cloud without traditional procurement delays and complexity. Ripple is just building out regardless. This is in regards to Figment, Palisade. I mean, they've got so much stuff going. Like, it's just nonstop. I can't wait to see what they announce tomorrow. Can you imagine, like, that? I mean, I can't imagine they wouldn't be saving something to announce tomorrow at Community Day, especially after they came out with that announcement on the 5th, like backing up XRP and the XRP community, saying what they're saying, that it's still at the center and actually giving a blueprint of how they're going to utilize XRP in the DeFi marketplace moving forward. So here's another one. Zand and Ripple are now extending this partnership to explore a range of initiatives, from enabling support Ripple's RUSD stablecoin with Zand's regulated digital asset custody. So they're literally just building out everywhere. UBS and the Canton Network. Broadridge CEO Tim Goki at the UBS conference. Tokenization on the Canton Network is a major growth driver. 4x volume surged from 100 billion a day last year to 400 billion a day now. So over the last year, they have quadrupled their growth on the Canton Network. That is pretty amazing. Ripple enters the top 10 most valuable unicorns globally. Ripple Labs has climbed into the top tier of global unicorns with a valuation of above 50 billion, according to CB Insights data. Ripple now ranks just behind Sheen and ahead of companies like Figure, Ramp, and Canva. So Ripple is growing massively. And again, when we're always looking at price, let me get back to price real quick. When we're talking about Bitcoin and we're talking about the growth of assets, I do keep track of the strength of the dollar compared to the yen. right before the last pullback of Bitcoin, it fell to 152. Right now, it's on its way down to 154. Again, that pullback happened a day later because what happens is when we have a pullback in the strength of the dollar, it messes with the bond market yields, it messes with all of that stuff, and it creates a ton of liquidity pressure on the back end. I don't know exactly how it all works, but I do know that when our dollar changes in value, it screws up all the yields in the bond market and it creates chaos of people trying to liquidate and move stuff around. Okay. Is not good. I know that it's not good. And sometimes that's all we need to know. Sometimes that's all we want to know. Is this good for what I want or is this bad for what I want? I don't need to fully understand every in and out of it as long as I get the understanding of what I need to know. But I can look into it a little bit deeper, but that's how I understand it. Let's hop into the chat. Let's see how you guys are doing today, and then we will come back. I'm trying to hop back and forth because I love the chat. Make sure you guys keep it rolling. I want to talk to everyone today. Let's see here. You hope so. Oh, in regards to my question as far as what you think happens with BTC and XRP. Yeah, I mean, I bought puts, so I hope so too. But I mean, I don't want anyone to lose money, but you know, that's what I've done. I've been pretty much advertising it all week. You're ready to buy some more and get your DCA lower. Me too. Once we get to that level, I plan on selling my puts and hopping back in. No, it's going to pump hard. I don't know. We'll see. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I put my money where my mouth is on it. In your opinion, how far do you think XRP could drop if Bitcoin crashes? Well, again, you guys saw the borders, and I've already said it once. So my opinion, if that's the wrong one. So originally, my opinion was if Bitcoin fell to 55K, which is what I think it's going to do, me personally, I think it's going to fall to 55K. My original thought was it was going to go to 80 cents. I've adjusted that since then. I think it's going to go to $1. But that's just what I think is going to happen based on everything I've seen, based on the fact that we're probably going to get bad data, and we're going to cover that video again here in a second. But it's nothing to do with XRP or even Bitcoin. I mean, if XRP, other than the fact that XRP follows Bitcoin, but our overall stock market is not doing well right now. It's honestly completely uncrypto related. But I mean, we have to look what's going on with risk assets and, you know, risk off assets and all of these things. I mean, Caterpillar, and we'll see it when I go back to the video, but like Caterpillar, one of the most boring stocks, is the one outperforming the Dow right now, just because it's a boring infrastructure play. What's winning right now? The boring infrastructure plays, the gold, the silver, the copper, right? Real estate, these things. Like that's why when it comes to crypto, that's my risk assets, but I'm focused on infrastructure in the future because I think it's going to have real utility and use case. But long-winded answer to your question of $1. What's going on, Sir Charles? Hello, my friend. Good afternoon, Todd. Appreciate you guys taking your time to be here. And as always, your time is your most valuable asset. So the fact you spend your time here, I do appreciate that. You still don't fully understand what staking is. So staking is essentially it's essentially lending. You give your, we'll say XRP, for instance, you give your XRP to someone, you loan it to them, they use it. It's still yours, and in return, you get a yield. You'll get interest, essentially, back. It's basically like lending. You give them your XRP, and then they hold on to it, and you get a percentage back every however the contract is written. They have it weekly, monthly, annually. It's whatever contract you decide you want to sign. For instance, I have some Flare staked on, or I have some FXRP staked on Flare, and I get a 6.1% annual return on it. Now, granted, it's only like 83 or 87. I can't remember the exact number. It's only like 83 or 87 XRP that I have on there. So we're not talking a whole lot, but it does work. It was mainly just for me to test it out and see how everything works. But you can stake your XRP on the Flare network as of right now. They are releasing native options, it looks like right now they're working on with the XRP ledger. And as more information comes out about that stuff, I'll definitely let you guys know. 50 spam calls, 35 spam texts. It's like I have a phone just so spammers can annoy me. Yeah, my girlfriend says, you need to get on the do not call list. I'm like, put me on it. This is ridiculous. Spam calls, you get 3 to 4 a week letting you know you're approved for a loan. Dude, I get at least 10 a day. And that is not an exaggeration. That's probably an underestimate. I got 3 since I started streaming. And then they leave voicemails and they fill up my voicemail box and I have to go and delete it. It is the most annoying thing ever. Oh, wow. The account set activity finally over 40K. I know, right? It shot up to 48, I think it was. Let's look. It shot all the way up to 48. So, I mean, and I'm still tweeting out to or reaching out to different people at Ripple pretty much once a week trying to get someone to explain this account set activity to me. Because, I mean, this is a ridiculous amount compared to the rest of the ledger. I mean, so this has got to be institutional onboarding. There's literally nothing else it can be. I mean, this isn't retail doing this. I mean, so I mean, this has to be institutional onboarding. So it's a matter of setting up all those accounts that they're bringing online and they're partnering with and they're merging with so they can start utilizing them on the actual XRP ledger for activity. That's my thesis on that. If anyone else has a better thesis on why this is spiked, I would love to hear it. Please, please, please. Oh, look at that. Bitcoin going down the hole. Anyway, let's see. Back to the chat. Actually, no, before I get back to the chat, I'm going to take a break. Don't worry. I'm going to get everybody. Let me clear this off here. And we will come back to it. So keep your questions rolling. But let's watch this interview with Kevin Hassett so we have a better understanding of what's about to go down tomorrow as far as jobs information. It's like an 8-minute video. It's a little bit dry, but it is very, very important. So let's get into that real quick for me. Let me pull it back up. We're going to watch the whole thing. It's 8 minutes. But, I mean, if you just look at his face, it's hard not to laugh. That could keep it entertaining.
President Trump telling NBC News he's proud of the U.S. economy and that 2026 is going to be even better. Joining us right now is White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. Good morning to you. There's been a long sort of back and forth about the state of our economy, about how good it is, but also maybe how bad it is, and the bad part being what came before during the Biden administration, and whether the president now owns this economy. Does the president now officially own this economy?
Right. I mean, yes, of course he does. The president is the leader of the free world, and he's the leader of this economy. The bottom line is that there are some things that moved in the last couple of years that haven't recovered. So, for example, there's a big truck going by all of a sudden. So, for example, there was 20-something% inflation, and we've got inflation way down. Incomes are up, real incomes are growing, but we haven't filled the hole from the inflation. So, is it Trump's economy or Biden's economy?
Right.
I think that at some point, it's you need to just slow down and say, okay, so when we're talking about whose economy it is, that whose economies whose economy is the policy being driven right now? Who's going to manage the policy going forward? Who's going to give you the State of the Union in a few weeks that says, here's what's going to happen over the next few months and years? And for that, it's definitely Trump's economy.
Kevin, one of the things that we haven't talked about since I don't think we've seen you since Kevin Warsh was
Davos
announced.
is the last time we
Right. So, but now, so now Kevin Warsh is going to have the job. Obviously, has to get through the confirmation process. But one of the arguments he's made quite publicly is actually that because of AI and the idea of productivity, that there's an opportunity to lower interest rates, and that you can do that without increasing inflation. At the same time, there's now this new question about what's happening with employment in the country. And I'm curious how you think about squaring those two circles, if you will.
Right. I mean, there's absolutely no question that we're in the biggest productivity boom that we've seen since the 90s, that the introduction of the internet and the introduction of artificial intelligence are very similar in the ways that they're affecting the data. I thought it was interesting. You put up a graphic a minute ago where you showed that the biggest outperformer of the Dow was Caterpillar, of all things. But that's 100% consistent with what we're seeing, which is that, first of all, that Trump's tax policies are making it so that you can expense capital equipment. So there's big demand for Caterpillar stuff. But then also AI is making it so that every company from Caterpillar on up is finding that it's more productive when it does stuff. And so with higher productivity, they get higher profits, and profits is, we often hear from another network, it's a mother's milk of stocks. And so, yeah, I absolutely believe that we're on an uptick that's significant. I think that the open question really is what's going to happen to jobs as productivity goes up? And I think that there's a chance that job creation lags. Productivity skyrockets, profits skyrocket, GDP skyrocket, but then all of a sudden, like, you're making 20 widgets and you can make 20 widgets with a fewer person, and then that person has to find a new job. I think that kind of transition could happen.
When you think about last week in the markets, I don't know how focused you were on sort of the back and forth, but there really was a sort of the mood music. It seemed to change, if you will. For much of the week, there was a real concern about tech companies effectively overspending on one side, whether some of the big tech companies, which had been rewarded for their spending, were getting nicked, if you will. And then on the other end, there became worries about some of the other software companies and whether they were going to be cannibalized by the big guys. By the end of the week, things had shifted gears all over again. And how you're thinking about that and who you're talking to about it.
Yeah, I actually talked to a bunch of my friends in Silicon Valley over the week to try to understand what was going on. And the bottom line is that a software engineer at a typical, West Coast Silicon Valley company has seen their productivity go up by 50, 80% over the last year because of these amazing tools that Anthropic and the other countries are developing. And so what that means is that if you're, a 22-year-old kid who just graduated from college with a software engineering degree, that there is a machine that can probably, help a senior person do your job. But in the bottom line, in the end, these big companies that were going up and down last week, their clients are people that have built relationships with them over the years that they trust. And so I think that it's going to be a long, long time until the client base moves away from the really, really big organizations like Salesforce and moves, straight to ChatGPT because of the relationships that these and the data that these firms have built over time.
Hey, Kevin, I want to ask you about the jobs market. We do have the jobs number coming finally on Wednesday after a little bit of a delay. We got some not great news last week when we were looking at the jobs numbers. I guess one was Challenger Gray and Christmas came out with numbers that were the largest number of layoffs we've seen in any month since 2009. You had the initial jobless claims number that was a little hotter than expected. And then you also had the JOLTS jobs openings that dropped in December to 6.54 million. And I think the revised number for November had been like 6.93 million. I just wonder what you think is happening in the jobs market right now with all the data you see.
Well, I think that there are two forces that are sort of pushing down and then one force that's pushing up. The force that's pushing up is that GDP growth is through the roof. Even with a revised down GDP now, we're looking at 4% growth into the end of the year, 3% for the year as a whole, despite the fact that we had a really negative first quarter with Joe Biden. And so that's the positive effect. The negative effects are when there's a productivity boom, then maybe you can make the same amount of stuff with fewer workers, and so that might reduce labor demand. And then the other thing is that there's a pretty big decline in the labor force because of illegals leaving the country. And so the break-even job number is quite a bit lower than it was under Joe Biden when there were people, basically coming across the border willy-nilly. And so I think that you should expect slightly smaller job numbers that are consistent with high GDP growth right now. And that one shouldn't panic if you see a sequence of numbers that are lower than you're used to, because again, population growth is going down and productivity growth is skyrocketing. It's an unusual set of circumstances.
Kevin, how concerned are you about an additional government shutdown if we get that for things like TSA and what that could ultimately mean economically?
Yeah, it really feels like the government shutdown game is behind us. I know that there's a few things to be worked out at the end, but But yeah, I don't think I've talked to anybody on either side of the aisle that is interested in having another government shutdown.
Oh, so
actually, that's news to us.
That's news to us, because we just had a congressman on and several others who still believe that there's a possibility of a government shutdown. Tell us why you think what you think.
But people negotiate, right? And then they say, oh, for sure, I got to shut the thing down. And then they get like the museum for their grandma. That's the state that I think we're in right now.
I don't think that's what's in the works. Are you suggesting that on the key points the Democrats have brought up, where they would like to see body cams being worn by ICE agents, where they would like to make sure that they are getting judicial warrants that have been signed off instead of just administrative ones, where the Democrats are also asking that they not be allowed to wear face cover and have to show ID? Are they closer on those things? Because I don't know that museums for someone's grandma would necessarily break this
Look, there are a lot of policy decisions that have to be made by congressmen and with the White House's guidance on how to best manage ICE. But that's something that the White House has always believed, and I think most members of Congress believe, is pushed through regular order.
Well, we know why this guy has his job. He is a professional at dodging questions. He walking around and dodging every single question they threw at him. But that just goes to show you, like, they'll come out and say one thing and then do the exact opposite. So when they come out and say, don't panic, then that's a warning to me. So as we're sitting here looking at Bitcoin going back down now to 68,000. So will it continue to go down? I tend to think so. Again, I've done the technical analysis with you guys as far as RSI and everything else as far as the technicals go. But I mean, ultimately, when we're looking at the overall economy right now, when you're looking at gold and silver, when you're looking at what China is doing, when you're looking at us potentially striking Iran and positioning for a strike on Iran, and the geopolitical turmoil, as well as the policy of Kevin Warsh and the new Fed chair that's going to be going in, who's typically hawkish, does not like to cut, and definitely does not like to turn on the money printer. Now, if things get bad enough, he'll be forced to, but we also still have Japan hiking rates. Like, a lot of what's happening right now in the crypto market, as far as the price goes, is strictly a reflection of speculation and a rotation out of risk-off assets, because they still do fall under speculation. Sorry, they do. But we are starting to see utility turn on. And why am I excited about XRP? Why am I excited about CC? Why am I excited about HBAR? Well, because XRP and CC fix a lot of the problems that are happening right now in the market. They fix a lot of the friction with cross-border payments and global liquidity, which is usually a cause of crashes, is a liquidity issue. So they fix a lot of those issues. Both of them do. They have different ways they do it, but both of them fix those issues. And then, of course, HBAR, Ondo for tokenization, and Chainlink for your smart contracts. So that's how I view it, right? That's my view on it for the long view. But, I mean, we're short-term pain, yes. I think we're going to have short-term pain. But I do think in the long view, it's actually highlighting it's exasperating the issue. It's highlighting the problem that these tokens solve. But that's just my view on it. Do you see the price for XRP to skyrocket like some other YouTube guys say, or do you see it just statistically rise over time? I mean, I do think there is going to be a repricing or an appreciation once the shift to blockchain technology rolls on. But like there will probably be one form of sharp appreciation. How sharp? I don't know. I think double digits is possible. And then I think a gradual increase over time as it builds out with inflation and all of these things. Because again, this isn't going to be poof, quadrillions on chain. You know, it does not happen like that. But I do think there will be a shift to where it becomes very clear to everybody which way blockchain is going. And then at that point, I think we'll see a mass run and we'll see a sharp appreciation. How much is that? I don't know. But that's my opinion of it. Any opinion on quant? Not really. I do own a little bit of it as a dart throw. So that means I did some research on it at one point. But again, I deal with short-term memory loss. So I can't honestly remember it fully clearly, to tell you the truth. But other than the fact I own a little bit as a dart throw, I really don't have any opinion on quant. Gold back above 5K. Is gold becoming a geopolitical weapon rather than a hedge? I believe it is. I mean, we already have reports that China is aggressively accumulating gold. There's been rumors of a gold-backed CBDC, gold-backed CBDC yuan that the BRICS nation is working on. Again, rumors. And again, if something like that were to happen, it's not something that would happen in 1, 2, or 5 years even. That's like 10 to 30 years when you're talking about switching currencies. But it's clearly showing that they are trying to de-dollarize. The de-dollarization movement has begun in the world. That's going to create more volatility in our markets, okay? A lot of people are going to start trying to invest in other stock markets that they think is going to grow over the next 10, 20, 30 years. But to me, I do see a de-dollarization happening in global markets right now. Can you please explain puts, shorts, etc.? So when you hear someone talk about shorting a stock, it's usually leverage based. When you hear someone say they're shorting a stock, it's typically leverage based, and that means they're betting against the stock. They think it's going to go down. Okay. If someone is going long, then they're betting for the stock. They think it's going to go up. And typically it's used with large amounts of leverage. Okay. So a put and a call is the similar, but those are options. So what is an option? An option represents 100 shares of IBIT, which is BlackRock's ETF. I bought a representation of 100 shares that's going to go up or down with Bitcoin. In this case, I bought a put, so I was betting on it to go down. So as it goes down, my option that I purchased, my option contract that I purchased becomes more valuable. Now, if I purchased a call, as the price went up, my option would get more valuable. But the reverse is also true. So since I bought puts, as price goes up, I lose money. So those are shorts, longs, puts, calls. Very rudimentary explanation. But again, nothing is financial advice. Figment integrated with ETH and Solana staking into Ripple custody. I wonder if Ripple is becoming a multi-chain infrastructure company more than just an XRP company. Well, the more multi-chain and more infrastructure that's tapped in, that's a larger customer base and more value that XRP can tap into. Now, granted, the settlement would have to happen on the XRP ledger, but Ripple's also thinking of their company, right? They're going to expand as far as they can to get value. Account set spiked to 57K. Was that today's? I need to refresh. Let's look. 57. I saw 48. Let's check. What's it doing now? Boom. Yeah, because it was up to 48. Let's refresh for today. Transaction types. And xrpscan.com, everybody. If you're an XRP holder, I strongly recommend you at least have this bookmarked. And yeah, now it's spiked up to 57K. Holy goodness. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Something is coming on chain hot and heavy. I don't know what, and I don't know when or how it's going to impact price, but you can see it being built. Clear as day. We need to see it translate to payment activity and price, though, before I get too excited. but it's certainly being built. What's XRP doing right now? XRP is down to 140. Okay. Let's get back to the chat then. And hopefully everyone's having a fantastic Taco Tuesday. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. There we go. Price down 60% when the infrastructure story has never been stronger. Don't forget to change the date behind you. Oh, is it still on the 9th? Oh, darn. You caught me. Caught me slipping. I'll have to fix it. My bad. My bad. In my opinion, price will drop more like to 90 cents, then skyrocket to 240, drop again, $1.90. Retail sell is crazy, jump to all-time high, $4, drop 240, pump 5. I mean, yeah, it's probably going to see something like that. Exactly, especially at the beginning. When I say we're going to see an appreciation, like, here we go. I get to break it out. I love it. I love it. I get to break it out. When I think we're going to see an appreciation, what I mean is, like, we're going to see something like this. We're going to see it come up, and then it'll drop a little, and then it'll come up, and it'll drop a little, and then we'll see something like this, and it'll come down, and we'll see something like that. I think we're going to see, like, one real large spike somewhere in the middle. But again, that's just my opinion, not financial advice, but that's just how I see it happening. So I could see it, like, doing, like, an all-time high or, like, a $5 or $6, and then chopping a little bit, and then some more coming on, and then just like shot up to like the teens or the 20s and then back again. Like, I could see something like that, but that's just me. Maybe that's what I hope to see. But again, I think that's still going to take time, and it's over the long view. It's not something that's going to happen immediately per se, right? It's going to take 5 to 10 years for this whole story to play out. And that's why we follow everything. That's why we have to follow what's happening in our overall global macro economy. That's why I care about what's happening with repo markets. That's why I care about what's happening with the bond market and what Japan's doing, what China's doing, okay? Because all of these things affect our total overall stock market. A lot of the narratives people were sold about how this stuff isn't relevant or whatever the case may be because this is going to happen or this is going to happen, it's simply just unfortunately not true. I mean, it stinks. But I would love to see some kind of crazy appreciation to $1,000. But, you know, I can wish in one hand and want in the other and see which one gets filled up first. My father would say crap in the other. Well, he would use a different word, but I like to stay on YouTube. I try not to cuss that much. Let's take a look at and keep the questions rolling, guys. How many people are even in the stream? I don't even know. I've been getting bad about not checking because I love just hanging out with you guys. And it's actually a quieter stream. There's only 13 people in here, and there was only 26, which is crazy. We've been getting up to, you know, like 50, 60, 70 people. So it's really shocking that there's only a few of us in here today. We only got as high as 26. People must not be interested in what Kevin Hassett has to say. I think well, I mean, price is bad right now. And then also, people don't like macroeconomic stuff. I feel like the more detailed I get into the macroeconomic elements of what's actually happening with price, the less people care. I feel like they just want me to come out here with pictures and tell them price is going to go here or price is going to go there. But since there's 13 of us, let's just have a hangout. Quieter day. I mean, it is a Tuesday. It's quiet in the market. There's not a ton of news other than what I've already shared with you, which I think is important because it's going to improve functionality and activity actually on the XRP ledger. But I don't know. I guess some people don't see it that way. So let me know in the chat. We'll have a hangout going. Let me pull some price action up here. We'll discuss price and whatnot. Since we already covered the news, actually, let me do a recap for anyone who may have strolled in late. I know there's only a few of you in here. Smaller stream, crazy. Why is this not working? There it goes. Okay, we want that, and then I want OBS. Okay. My mama said, let's see here. So XRP's pulled back to $1.40. Bitcoin is currently at 68. My prediction for Bitcoin is 55K. I do think we're going to pull back. I think we're going to have terrible jobs data tomorrow. I think we got some foreshadowing from Kevin Hassett, but that's me and my opinion. So I think we're going to see this kind of chop a little bit until we see actually what happens with the jobs data tomorrow. But that's just me. So again, my goal, I'm expecting 55K, and I actually changed my XRP goal or my XRP zone to $1. I think we will see $1 if Bitcoin hits 55K. The entire crypto market is bleeding this month, and today is not much better unless you hold Canton coin, which is pretty much the same story for the rest of the month. I did pick up some more Canton coin this morning at a nice little discount since it was down 4% for the day at that point, so it's already made up 6%. So I enjoyed that pickup. I'm thinking about, since Hyperliquid is starting to take a dive now, I'm thinking about maybe doing a dart throw on Hyperliquid. Not sure though. I'm still Still questioning that. I'm still sitting on the sidelines with a lot right now. Other than like I said, the puts that I put out there. Because the entire market is just bleeding. When you look at everything, I mean, it's just long term. Obviously, I'm here for the long haul, but I think in the very near term, we're going to have some pain. XRP ledger activity is spiking, both payments and account set activity spiking higher than it's ever been before, ever, at 57K. What does that mean? But Basil, what does it mean? I don't know. It has to be institutional onboarding. There's really nothing else that can explain it. Unless you guys have some ideas. What do you guys think about account set activity? Why do I have to be the one with all the knowledge? Is it because I'm the one with the microphone? I know you guys have some information out there. Thoughts, opinions? Let me hear it. As far as the news that we covered, I forgot to mention this piece about Canton, okay? CC has now burned officially $2 billion, and that's just the beginning. Remember, only 5% of the DTCC tokenization project has come on the Canton network at this point, and they've already burned 2 billion CC. And so remember, the more stuff that comes on Canton, the more is burned. However, more is minted, the faster utility turns on. So there will be a period of supply crunch with CC where the utility outpaces the supply, and then it will catch up to even out the prices. So we're going to see how it plays out over the next year exactly as far as that relationship with the burn rate and the minting of CC. But I can tell you right now, as it's ramping up, the price will grow. That's my opinion on it. And again, if you want to follow exactly everything that's happening today, you can go ahead and check out Eleanor Tourette's. I've retweeted this. I would strongly suggest going to it. It's got all the details of exactly what's taking place, what days and times. And then this is very, very important. This was in response to Ripple sending out their information about how XRP is going to be used. And Brad's still saying, glad to see the message is finally even more clear. XRP family has always been at the top of the mind for Ripple. We covered Soil now becoming a Ripple partner, introducing an asset vault to the XRPL to streamline institutional lending, and Figment partnering with Ripple to unlock staking for regulated institutions. Massive information coming on chain. And of course, price is going down, so no one cares. It seems to be typically traditional for XRP. The more news we get, the worse price gets. It just seems to work that way for XRP. I mean, for years, honestly, it's hilarious. News has no impact on XRP's price, other than it makes it go down, it seems like. ASAP, retail is out. Price will spike, not to the moon, to another galaxy. Yeah, retail is running for the hills. We are at a period, and I believe it was yesterday, it was like an all-time extreme fear since 2020 or since 2019 or something like that. But it was the lowest it's been since right before the last spike in cryptocurrency. I think we got one more shakeout. As BIS and IMF name it, stablecoin and to move, all those volumes must be huge. Exactly. Once we get all that volume on chain, whether it's Canton, whether it's XRP, whatever ledger, whatever blockchain it is, truthfully, we're only about maybe 5% of the way in. And when you think about who actually holds crypto, I would say if you really look at it, 75% of the United States, I can speak for, has zero exposure to any cryptocurrency. And of those people who do have exposure, 90% of it is Bitcoin. So really, if you think about it, maybe 1 or 2% of our country has any exposure to anything other than Bitcoin. And that's not counting Ethereum, right? So maybe 1% of people actually hold cryptocurrency outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. We are very, 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 very early to this. And like someone said, or like you just pointed out right here, retail is out. So what does that mean? I think we got one more shakeout, but that's just me. That's why we dollar cost average in over time. That's why I keep some on the sideline so I can buy that bigger dip. Jake was live on another YouTuber. He was on another YouTube channel. I don't know. I don't know what that is. So my mama said, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. You know, I've heard that before. Every time I hear my mama say it, I think of Waterboy. I love that movie. Waterboy is freaking hilarious. Love Adam Sandler. Most of his stuff. He's got some crap out there, but most of it's pretty good. Tom Essen says, I'm also short, but in the futures market, I'm targeting 115, but I'll keep my eye on Bitcoin. Okay, good for you. Yeah, I don't mess around with margin. So the most in order to do the futures, you have to do margin. So the most I do is buy a put or a call as far as my leverage, because that way I have a limited loss, and it's the cost of the option. Short in the near term, but holding XRP spot long. Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, like I said, I bought the puts on Bitcoin, but I'm holding XRP for the long view. Believe me, I have plenty of assets that I'm holding. So many things seem backwards, like every day is opposite day. Yeah. Like really the psychology of the stock market is backwards to what traditional thinking would be, right? To what the way most people's brain operates and most people's psychology operates. The psychology is completely opposite to it. So honestly, when I first started getting into this stuff several years ago, 7-8 years ago, I learned over the first probably 2 years just paper trading that, okay, my normal instincts are completely wrong here. Like every time I thought I understood something, the opposite would happen. And then as you go through it, like learn more and more. And then I had to, mess with losing money and all that stuff. That's why I never got into leverage, honestly. It's so risky. But I do fine just with what I'm working with. How low is Quant gonna go, do you think? I have no clue. I have no clue on Quant. I wish I had some good information for you on that one, but I haven't done any technical analysis on it. No research on the project really whatsoever, at least that I can remember right now. So I'm not in a position to give you any advice on it. I'm sorry. Let's take a look at price. But again, when you real quick before we get into price, if you missed it, this is kind of a synopsis, a little snapshot of what XRP or what Ripple put out as far as how XRP is going to be used in the new financial economy, right? In the new institutional DeFi. And they basically showed how it's at the center of everything, at the center of payments and FX, collateral liquidity, lending and credit, all of it. And they're ramping that up faster and faster. It's what we covered with the news today. And again, you can actually see that full breakdown on Ripple's website. I covered it, when did I cover that? Saturday? Yeah. I covered that on Saturday. If you want to go back to Saturday stream and look at it, I stream every single day, Monday through Saturday at noon. We cover the news, we cover the price, and we discuss everything going on in the chat with a live Q&A and a hangout when we're all done. Because the ultimate goal is to build a community that's here for the long view, which I believe most of you are. And again, I'm talking to the same 18 people, so I'm assuming most of you are. And I am out of things to talk about right now. Anyone else got any topics, thoughts, opinions? We're just hanging out. Hopefully, I mean, we got down to as low as 13 people in here at one point. Probably call it a weak stream today. Tuesdays are always slow. Mondays are always better. But unfortunately, the stream lagged yesterday. We got up to 58 people yesterday, and the stream decided to crap out, and it dropped it all the way down to 20. I hate it when that stuff happens, man. It's so not fun. It's not cool, man. Not cool. Technically speaking, options puts are also leveraged. Yes, one option contract represents 100 shares. So it is leveraged. However, it's not leveraged to the fact where it's like endless losses are possible, right? There's a cap on it, and the cap is the amount of the option purchase. So it's basically like buying a ticket, because I think it's going to go to a certain price. And obviously, usually the only time I mess with puts and options is if I see a pretty clear signal that I'm confident in, and I stick to that plan. So I'm like, okay, so for this particular instance, here's how I framed it. Let me pull up the chart again for you real quick. Because in this particular instance, here's how I framed it when I was looking, when I bought puts on IBIT. So I was looking at this and I saw this up here. And I originally called out that I didn't think it was going to go past this zone. So when it kept coming out and failing and tapping, I ended up buying puts probably right around like 71K. And then I closed them out when we got down to 68 because I said, I thought it was going to pull back to 68 and then retap again. And it did exactly that. And it pulled back out and I sold them at 70K. So I made some money and I sent that to Caleb and Brown and bought some Canton coin. Then this morning, after it ran up, I'm like, I think this is the dip coming with the news coming tomorrow and all of that stuff. I think that this is going to be the beginning. So I bought some more puts at 69K. But that's how I was judging on where I buy it. Now, my target for Bitcoin is 55K. So when this reaches 55K, regardless of what's going on, I'm going to sell them. If this were to go above 71K at any point, I would have gotten out of it and sold it. I mean, that's pretty much how I was looking at it with these two lines. I'm like, if it breaks 71.8 right here, I'm out. I'll sell it and take my loss and move on with life. And again, you guys see in the bottom thing there, not financial advice. I'm getting better at not saying it. I figure if I put it on the screen, I won't say it as much, but I still catch myself doing it. So hopefully that answers that. The White House had Ripple. Any news of what happened? So White House had Ripple over there today, along with a bunch of people, right? There's people from Coinbase, there's people from banks. They're doing a bunch of stuff today. They're discussing stablecoin yield and the skinny Fed master account. Yes, jobs and CPI are both landing this week. I believe the jobs data is going to be terrible tomorrow. We heard from Kevin Fudger, what's his name? Kevin, I'm drawing a blank, starts with an H. Hassett. Thank you. Found it. We're waiting on Kevin Hassett. Or we watched the video with Kevin Hassett with him saying, don't panic if the numbers are smaller than you're used to seeing. If a sequence of numbers is smaller than you're used to seeing, he said. So he's expecting a lot of low numbers that we're not used to seeing. And that doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy when the White House comes out and says, don't panic. Like, I mean, that's just not a good sign. But nonetheless, I'm going to leave it there, everyone. That's all I've got for you today. I appreciate everyone taking your time to be here. I will be back tomorrow, and tomorrow night is the members only live stream at 7 p.m. If you guys want, you can go to my second channel. I'm actually about to get on there probably in the next hour or so and have some fun. So if you guys want to check out the next my second channel, you absolutely can. I went ahead and put it in the chat for you. And I'll just be hanging out playing video games. Aside from that, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Later.